Midnight overtime. I never liked staying late at the office, but deadlines were relentless. The rows of empty cubicles stretched into the dimly lit hallway, the overhead lights flickering just enough to make my skin crawl. The city outside was silent, and the only noise was the hum of my computer. I took a sip of my cold coffee and rubbed my eyes. That's when I noticed something in my screen's reflection. Someone standing behind me. A tall, shadowy figure. My breath caught in my throat, but when I turned around, there was nothing there. Just the empty office. I shook it off as exhaustion, but as I returned to my work, I heard something, faint footsteps. Slow, deliberate, echoing down the corridor. I wasn't alone. I grabbed my phone and checked the security cameras. The hallways were empty. The sound, however, didn't stop. I decided to leave. I grabbed my things and walked toward the elevator. The building's elevators automatically shut down after 11 p.m., but as I approached, the doors slid open with a soft chime. The panel inside showed it had come from the basement, a level that didn't exist in our building. Panicking, I ran back to my desk and checked the security footage again. I rewound the hallway footage, searching for anything unusual. That's when I saw it that a man sitting at a desk, my desk, typing. Behind him stood the shadowy figure, motionless. But as I kept watching, I realized something horrifying. The man wasn't me. He looked just like me, but he wasn't. And then, the figure slowly turned to face the camera and smiled. I slammed my laptop shut, my breath coming in shallow gasps. The office was silent. The air was thick. I didn't dare turn around. I could feel something standing behind me. The last ride. It was well past midnight, and I was the last one in the office. The only sound was the hum of the air conditioning and the occasional flicker of the aging fluorescent lights. My eyes burned from staring at the screen too long, yet the unfinished reports demanded my attention. Outside the massive glass windows, the city looked lifeless. The streets below were empty, the streetlights casting long, eerie shadows. A shiver ran down my spine, though I told myself it was just exhaustion. Finally deciding to call it a night, I shut my laptop, grabbed my coat, and headed toward the elevator. The hallway felt unnaturally silent, amplifying the sound of my own footsteps as I pressed the button. The floor indicator flickered and stuttered. The elevator was coming down from the 33rd floor. Odd, since our office was on the 24th, and the floors above were supposedly vacant. A dull chime echoed as the doors slid open. The interior lights were dimmer than usual. The walls felt colder, the metallic panels reflecting my tired face in a distorted way. I hesitated for a moment before stepping inside. I pressed the button for the lobby. The doors slid shut, enclosing me in the cold, sterile space. The elevator lurched downward, the movement slightly unsteady. Then, at the 21st floor, it stopped. The doors didn't open. The lights flickered violently. A metallic groan reverberated through the chamber, as if something heavy had just latched onto the card. I jabbed the close door button repeatedly. The doors struggled, moving an inch before halting. My pulse quickened. Then I saw it. Not directly, but in the warped reflection of the metal walls. A figure, standing in the farthest corner. Unmoving, I turned my head sharply. Nothing was there. A cold sweat broke across my forehead. The air felt heavier, pressing against my lungs. The reflection remained, and then it moved. The lights went out. A single red emergency bulb flickered weakly. I reached for my phone, but the screen remained black. The air turned suffocating, thick with something unseen. And then the elevator plummeted and I screamed. With a violent jolt, the descent stopped. The doors slowly creaked open. I gasped for breath, stumbling forward, and found myself standing back at my desk. The computer screen was on. The security feed displayed the inside of the elevator. A man was still inside. He looked exactly like me, and as he turned his head, he grinned. The stairwell that shouldn't exist. I had stayed late at the office again. The deadline was looming, and my boss made it clear that an extension was not an option. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting a sterile glow over my cluttered desk. My fingers clacked against the keyboard, the only sound accompanying the soft ticking of the office clock. After hours of work, my vision blurred, and my muscles ached from sitting too long. I needed a break. I decided to head to the vending machine for a coffee. As I stepped out of my cubicle and into the hallway, I noticed something strange, a door I had never seen before. It was slightly ajar, revealing a staircase leading downward. We worked on the top floor of a 4-story building. This made no sense. Curiosity got the better of me. I pushed the door open further, revealing a dimly lit stairwell spiraling downward into darkness. My breath hitched as I took the first step down. The air was thick, musty, as if no one had been down there for years. The walls were cracked and faint markings ran along them. Scratches, almost like claw marks. I told myself it was just my imagination, but as I continued downward, a growing sense of wrongness settled in my gut. The deeper I went, the darker it became. My phone's flashlight barely pierced the inky blackness ahead. Then, I heard it, the whisper. Not from below, from behind me. I whipped around, my flashlight shaking. The door at the top of the stairwell was gone. Instead, the stairs stretched infinitely upward into darkness. My pulse pounded in my ears. Panicking, I turned forward again, hoping to find another exit. The stairs had ended, leading into a narrow corridor with flickering lights. The hallway stretched far longer than the dimensions of our office building should allow. Desks lined the walls, identical to those upstairs, but they were old, abandoned, covered in dust. Then I saw them, the figures sitting at the desks, motionless, watching. My breathing turned shallow. The figures didn't move, but I could feel them watching me. I stepped closer, hesitant, until I saw a reflection in a dusty, cracked mirror at the end of the hallway. It was me, but I wasn't moving. My reflection sat at a desk, staring blankly at a computer screen, trapped in place. The realization hit me like a freight train. The figures, they were all former employees. Trapped, replaced. A cold hand touched my shoulder. I gasped and turned around, only to see my own face staring back at me. Another version of myself, identical, but with lifeless, hollow eyes. It smiled. The next moment, everything went dark. When I opened my eyes, I was sitting at a desk. My hands rested on a dusty keyboard. The screen glowed faintly, displaying an email from my boss. Overtime is mandatory. Thank you for your dedication. I tried to stand, but my body wouldn't move. From the corner of my vision, I saw another door open. Another late-night worker stepping in. The cycle had begun again.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the chills and thrills, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a story from the shadows. Have a terrifying tale of your own? Share it in the comments below, and remember, the darkness is always watching.